Great, welcome back to our live pre-debate interviews. This is our last in a series of 4. We're now going to speak with General Michael Hayden, a distinguished military officer, served in a number of high-level posts in the United States, his country, including head of the NSA and head of the Central Intelligence Agency. General Hayden, thank you so much for coming to Toronto to be part of this debate. A lot of different arguments we made tonight for and against the current system of state surveillance in the United States and internationally. What's the key point that you hope this audience leaves with in terms of your side of the debates and the arguments you're putting forward?
Well, in terms of both sides of the debate, this is not a discussion between the forces of good and the forces of evil, between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. Look, my country's founding document said, hey, we're doing this government thing for 3 reasons: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, sometimes those 3 things, all of which are values, by the way, sometimes those 3 things get a bit competitive, that governments and democratic people have to make the decisions how much emphasis to put on the value of life, which translates to security and safety, as opposed to liberty, which translates from time to time to transparency and privacy, and then the pursuit of happiness. And so an honest discussion among peoples who roughly, broadly share the same values and have to make tough choices. In essence, what I want to suggest to people is, this is complicated. Facts matter. Think before you decide.
What fact do you think has been either obscured or ignored by this debate? It's going on 11 months, 12 months. Next month will be the anniversary of Snowden's leak.
What a great year. An awful lot of the data that's been put out there has been misunderstood. Now, part of that is simply because this is hard to understand. I mean, this is a very obscure art and science. And so many things get put out there. For example, they have a heat map that NSA put out there that showed how many millions of metadata events were taken from France or Spain or Norway. And immediately, I mean, the stories out there were, we're ripping off 60, 70 million metadata events per month from those countries in Europe. The reality is, those countries in Europe are giving us that metadata that very often they collect elsewhere, like in Afghanistan. But, so it's hard. Second thing is, there are those out there who want to tell this story in the darkest possible way, who want to take the narrative into the darkest corner of the room. My government, my old agencies, have been flat-footed in responding to this. There's a natural tendency in my old career field to just not want to engage publicly. This stuff best succeeds in secrecy. But it's no longer secret. A lot of stuff is out there. And therefore, people who know more about this than average need to take part in the debate to make sure people understand. Oh, by the way, once you've understood the metadata program, which is a bit controversial south of the border, once you've understood it and why we're doing it and how carefully it's run and how useful it's been, you still get to say, but I don't want you to do it. But you've got to work your way through all of those hoops before legitimately you should feel you have a right to do that.
We'll probably hear tonight from Glenn Greenwald representing the views of a lot of people who say, look, I'm all for bugging Osama bin Laden's cell phone. Just don't collect my data also. Yeah. Can the NSA succeed at its mission by just doing that, by just siloing out the supposed or alleged terrorist or threat and leaving all the rest of us out of this?
Sure, why not? You're not very interesting. In fact, most of us are boring. Okay? NSA, CSEC here in Canada, GCHQ in Great Britain, they don't have this prurient interest to look into people's lives. They're responding to tasking given to them by their democratic governments. Now, you raise the question, just listen to bin Laden. I'm sorry, how do I know that phone's bin Laden's? How do I arrive at that reality? Well, I kind of got to swim in the data stream. I kind of have to go out there in a bit of a journey of discovery. And once I find out which one's yours and which one's his, rest assured, you're a waste of time. Put put morality, legality, ethics, constitutionality aside. There are no operational upsides to doing that. The operational upside is over here. Look, here's the broad issue. Okay? Most people in the big Western democracies are accustomed to their signals intelligence agencies going after the Soviet Union. And trust me, I love that enemy. You know, slow-moving, oligarchic, technologically inferior nation state. I miss those guys. No one argued when we were intercepting, say, a Soviet microwave signal out of Strategic Rocket Forces headquarters in Moscow, hopping up over the Ural Mountains to ICBM fields in the Far East. You know, people wanted us to look for words of interest like launch, all right? That doesn't exist anymore. And the 21st century equivalent of that dangerous signal, okay, the 21st century equivalent of that are proliferator, terrorists, narco trafficker, money launderer, emails coexisting with your emails and mine on the same global integrated telecommunications grid. And so actually, one lens through which you can look at this is this really isn't an expansion of surveillance. It's actually your surveillance agencies trying to provide to you in the 21st century what it was you expected them to provide to you in the 20th. Let me know when the bad guy is going to hurt me. That's what this is really about. Now, in doing that, they've been aggressive. They've worked within the law, but to the edges of the law. A lot of this now demands, I mean, they can't do their modern mission without bumping into your stuff and mine. It just can't be done. That's a reality. Now we need to find a way that citizens of Canada, citizens of the United States, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, you know, the folks who do this together cooperatively under democratic governments, that the citizens of those countries have trust and faith in their security services, that they're in that stream going after the bad guys but bumping into your stuff, and that they're going to be good enough to grab the bad guys and honest enough not to touch yours. I said almost that exact sentence to the House of Representatives of the United States in open session 18 months before 9/11. This isn't a 9/11 reality. This is the reality of the 21st century.
You've said elsewhere that your own agency, the NSA, when you took it over in the late 90s, was drowning in a wave of data.
Yeah.
And that these programs evolved over time to not only respond to that data, but to see that data as an opportunity, as a way to become more efficient, more effective. You know, looking back on your own career and the Snowden revelations, was that all? Were those the series of right decisions and the right choices, or was there a mistake made along the way there? Did it go too far? Was there another path that we could have taken?
There isn't a technological path that I know, all right? But even the President's Commission, you know, after this thing really got going, President Obama assigned 5 folks to look at this. And they looked at this bulk collection, metadata, contact chaining approach, which is the way you find the needle in the haystack. And they said, and we strongly recommend that NSA and the US government find technological ways for them to discover the communications of interest without having to do the bulk collection and that kind of analysis. And I said, that's a great idea. Now, no one has any idea what that technology is. I actually wrote in the margins of the report when I was reading it, and we'll clap our hands and sprinkle fairy dust until that happens. But until that happens, the best tool we have to deal with volume, which was overwhelming the folks who were intercepting communications to keep you safe, is to not fight the volume, to go with the volume. You know, not be defeated by the fact that the haystack in which the needle is located is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but to turn around and accept the volume, absorb it, and actually use the location, the number, and the pattern of the haystacks to determine things that are actually actionable to keep you safe.
Where do you think this whole field is going? Because the cost of processing data continues to collapse, the computing power continues to grow. You're right, Canada, the United States affords privacy and other constitutional protections. The Chinese or the Russians don't care about your or my privacy rights, but surely their capacities are growing to collect our metadata, to scoop our emails and phone conversations and all that stuff. So, are we kind of in an arms race that leads to the end of privacy as we know it?
Look, you don't need government surveillance agencies to threaten privacy as we know it.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, come on. I mean, that's...
What, you're saying the corporate sector?
Look, and you talk about NSA having metadata, okay? And NSA doesn't data mine the metadata. NSA just contact chains from it when it's got a bad number, a seed number, and tries to contact chain from it. The private sector data mines that stuff all the time and packages you up and sells you to people who want to sell you stuff, all right? And so...
Okay, well, let's say, I mean, the way you explain it there, I mean, that's pretty egregious. They're doing it for profit, they're making money.
Right,
Yet
and
we're
you
not
complain
out.
I'm doing it to keep you safe.
Well, so explain to me why people seem to be, giving the corporations a pass, but beating the you-know-what out of government for doing it.
Two reasons, all right? One is habit, okay? We in the Western world, our political culture, all right, are accustomed to our privacy being threatened by government, right? We really hadn't experienced very much what it is we're experiencing now. And frankly, that instinct then, just trust the government, trust these guys, may not be an appropriate response to the modern world. The other thing is more concrete, all right? Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft may squeeze my privacy. They're not going to put me in jail. The government can put you in jail. And so there's also a real concern that you really do want your government more limited than what the private sector may be able to do for profit.
Final question I've asked all four debaters about Edward Snowden. Did he betray his country, or is he, as some would claim, an American hero who should be brought back to the country of his birth and afforded every right and privilege for what he's done?
Well, I'll combine the two options. He's not an American hero. He did betray a lot of things, and I'd be delighted for him to come back to the country of his birth.
Okay, and what would happen to him in a
Michael
Hayden
a jury of his peers? He claims he did a heroic action. He claims that he couldn't follow the path of a true whistleblower because as a contractor, I don't have the same kind of protections. Who knows what would have become of me? So he takes a course of action that has him in exile in one of the most autocratic states on the planet. Now, what worse could have happened to him if he just decided to take a flight to Washington rather than Hong Kong, all right, and talk to Ron Wyden or Senator Udall or Senator Feinstein instead of the group from WikiLeaks, all right? Why didn't he do that? Okay? By the way, most of what has been revealed based upon the Snowden cache of documents has absolutely nothing to do with Canadian, American, or British or Australian privacy. It has everything to do with how those countries are actually collecting legitimate foreign intelligence. What's that about?
Okay, we're going to find out more about this tonight. Michael Hayden, thank you for coming to Toronto. Thank you for being part of this debate. It's going to be a good one.
I look forward to it.
In no small part because of your participation. Viewing audience, this concludes our series of live interviews with our four debaters. Tune into the debate tonight, again, on theintercept.com and www.monkdebates.com. It's live, it's free, it's available for you to be part of it. We've got a whole bunch of online tools that you can take part with to join the proverbial conversation. So we'll see you back at 7 p.m. Eastern as we kick this important debate off on the stage of Roy Thompson Hall here in downtown Toronto. We'll see you then.